Megamaniacs, what's up? This is Mr. Mega Man Fan. You've probably noticed that image of Dave Bautista in the background, and that's from the trailer for My Spy. Marcus Cinemas just had a screening today, free, and all you had to do was claim a ticket last week, first come, first serve on Sunday when the showing started at 2 o'clock. So, picked up 2 tickets, and I wanted to give you my impressions of the film. As always, I don't consider myself a movie reviewer, but I'm a man who can share his thoughts on YouTube just like any other man, woman, or person out there. So, I'm telling you what I think, just based on the fact that I'm a fan of Dave Bautista, dating back to his professional wrestling days, and I followed him into the worlds of mixed martial arts and acting following that. Thought he hit it out of the park as Drax in Guardians of the Galaxy, but that may have also typecast him slightly as the big guy who can be funny in movies. And he's playing to that typecast, but that doesn't make it a bad movie. It just makes it a little bit cliche. In fact, one of the jokes early on in the movie, aside from the fact that his character's name is JJ Cena, with Cena being an obvious wrestling reference, is the fact that he's meeting with some international arms dealers, bad men, people who want plutonium to make weapons, and one of them immediately suspects he's a spy and his cover is blown, and he's like, "What is that? What kind of acting is that? Is that supposed to be a Russian accent?" And I'm thinking, oh my god, this is kind of meta. They're actually making fun of Batista's acting. And to me, that's not even an issue, because I think when you see Batista in a film, you know exactly what you're getting. He's either playing a big, strong guy, or a guy who's big but awkward and funny, or some combination of the two. I don't think you have these expectations of his versatility. Maybe that's to come later in his career. Maybe he's gonna have his get shorty moment like The Rock, where he does something completely out of left field that people aren't expecting. But at this point in his career, like I said before, it seems as though he's comfortable in these type of roles, and that comfort works because he gets to play off some very funny, very talented people. Chloe Coleman as the little girl Sophie is truly, as much or more than him, the star of this film, because she gets a lot of the best lines. She gets to play him for the fool. She's the one who makes him for a spy when he's spying on her mom. And then she gets to leverage that for her advantage and put him into situations where, again, he's playing to type in his previous roles, where he's the big guy who is sometimes uncomfortable in situations because he is so big, but he plays that so well that it's still funny to see him do it. And she's so charming and adorable that even though it makes you laugh when she makes him pinky promise with her pinky finger, it's also believable. It really comes across like, hey, this is what a kid would really do in this situation with this big hulking spy who she just conned into being her guardian slash mentor slash father figure. Because she has no dad. That's part of the premise of the movie, is that she's living alone with her mom. So he becomes the father figure that she never knew she needed, but comes to adore throughout the film. And that relationship between JJ and Sophie is the charm of this movie. The people around them are very good in the supporting roles as well. One thing you might have a little trouble with, and I know I did, is Kristen Schaal has such a distinctive voice that every time you hear her, you're going to think of either Mabel Pines from Gravity Falls, or Louise Belcher from Bob's Burgers, or any one of the other countless voice acting roles she's done. It's good to see her as herself in the film, and she is a great foil for JJ, but you're still gonna think Louise when you hear her. If you put a pair of pink bunny ears on her head she would be Louise in that movie, especially because Louise is a little bit of a badass who's always the one that's willing to go further than any of the other siblings in the Belcher family. And she's a bit of a wannabe badass in this movie because she looks up to Batista. She's in awe of JJ and how good he is at his job, and he's basically a killing machine. Even the CIA has to acknowledge that he's really good at it. He's like an ex-Army Ranger who transitioned into the spy world, so he's really good at killing bad guys, and he makes no apologies for that. And she wants to be just like him, but she's a tech, so her role is support and information and surveillance, and not necessarily field operations where she gets to go out and carry weapons. But she does discover her inner badass in her own way through the course of the film, and towards the climactic chase scene, which you knew was coming in a film like this. The little girl gets kidnapped, JJ has to save the day, and she has her moment leading up to that where she gets to be a badass, and then of course he has his moment where he gets to rescue her, and then the little girl, she has her moment too where she gets to do what she's always wanted to do and say her walk-off line to the bad guy. That's like something that Batista's character criticizes her for. JJ's like, kid, you gotta stop watching your Mission Impossible movies. That's not what the spy world is like. But then he delights in the fact that she is so into it that he actually sets up sparklers and fireworks for her so that she can do a walk-off as something is exploding behind her. And that comes back into play later in the film. I won't tell you exactly how, but it is toward the end of the film when she gets to finally use her walk-off line with one of the bad guys. So, it's a very charming film. It is not the funniest movie I've ever seen. It's not the best movie I've ever seen. But it's a well-done movie with all of the pieces in the right places playing the part that they should. The one that's I have company. Ken Jeong, who I was just about to talk about, may be I did warn you, the least important part, but he still plays his role with more subtlety than you're used to from him. If you know him from films like The Hangover, he's not that over the top. He's playing the boss at the CIA, the one that sends Batista on missions, the one that criticizes him for being really good at killing bad guys, but maybe not so good at the intel, at reading people in a room, at getting information instead of killing the bad guys who could lead them to that information. So JJ's kind of in this quandary where Ken is basically telling him, you know what, stop killing people and just do what we send you to do. And he sends him to Chicago as like this last resort, like, you're gonna do this, and if you screw it up, you're through. And that also becomes a very important plot point because obviously he botches it right at the beginning when Sophie makes him for a spy and breaks into the apartment where he and his partner Bobby are doing surveillance on Sophie and her mom. So his cover's blown. There's Tango again, and he's gonna lose everything. But it ends up working out in a way that nobody could have foreseen. And it also develops into a relationship between Tango, my goodness, develops into a relationship between him and the little girl's mother, Kate. So that all becomes a very unique, interesting part of the movie. Sorry, the white balance went out there when Tango came into the picture. Hi, Tango. Yeah, I think you can see his head and his tail there. Since you want to be part of the video, you're now part of the video, buddy. Congratulations. So, in closing, I would say if you already knew Batista from funny action films like Stuber or Guardians of the Galaxy, you would enjoy seeing him in My Spy. They delayed this movie's release for a month, but they didn't push back the screening. I think they've decided there's too many big movies right now, especially with the live action version of Mulan coming out very soon if it's not already in theaters, so they're trying to push it back to a weekend where it's not going to have any competition, so it'll do a bigger box office. But I feel like Bautista has reached a plateau where he is bankable as a star in action comedy movies, so I don't think they have to worry too much about a big opening. In fact, they may have decided to keep this screening in place even though they pushed the movie back, because the word of mouth for a movie like My Spy will certainly help. It's a family movie, like Sonic the Hedgehog was. It's something where there's not excessive profanity or sexuality or adult situations. There's a little bit of adult humor here and there, but it is for laughs, but not necessarily laughs that it wouldn't work on multiple levels. It's basically, as I said, it's a little cliche in some of those respects, but it doesn't make it bad. Cliches are not necessarily a bad thing. In pro wrestling, which Bautista comes from, that's true as well. You want the good guy to win over the bad guy. You want the babyface to triumph over the heel. And that's what you're doing when you watch a movie like My Spy, is you're rooting for JJ to not screw up and for him and Sophie to triumph at the end over all the adversity that they face. And they each have their own quest to go on. You know, she's lost in this new city, living with a single parent, feeling alone in the world until JJ comes along. So it's a journey for her as she gains confidence and learns how to be herself, and it's a journey for him as he learns how to shed his tough guy Army Ranger exterior and connect with people. So it's a fun movie, not a cinematic classic, not something you're going to go, oh my god, I can't believe I didn't see this, if you didn't go. But you know what? See it. Go to a matinee, get some popcorn, spend some time with a significant other, a loved one, your child, whatever. I mean, don't bring a dog. Although there is a very funny dog in this movie who is named Ozzy, and he looks like Eddie from Frasier. So even pets might enjoy this now that I think about it, but no, I don't think most theaters allow that unless they're like service dogs. But what I'm saying to you is, it's a movie for everyone, and that's not a bad thing. I'm Mr. Mega Man fan. That is the animal, Dave Bautista, and My Spy is coming to theaters near you soon.